Mark. As big as I can, level, which is where the interior. All but one of the 3x5s in. So I'm going to kind of go over how I'm going to get that last one in. I got the window sitting in 1.5 inches by using just 2x screwed in. And that kind of holds it because I'm doing it by myself too. So when the window is open, or let me rephrase that. I guess when the window sits in the opening, it's 1.5 inches back. So I got one of those installed, put another one in, and then push the window up to it. It doesn't have to be at any particular height. It's just holding the window back 1.5 inches, top and bottom. So this has this block on the bottom that needs to come off. It's just a plastic kind of protector for shipping. Pull the protective film off. Put these installation brackets in, just kind of rotate in, and you fold them in a little bit, about at a 45-degree angle. And I measured these to be 6 inches down, just for uniformity, and it's above where the screw goes through the jamb, so it doesn't interfere with that, and it doesn't get too close to the hinge. It stays down a little bit. I did already check the sill for level. All right, I'm gonna level the sill by sticking a small shim underneath one of those other shims. So once I got that where I want it, I'm gonna just mark the inside edge so I know where that's gotta go. The window's centered in the opening in the bottom. Put a mark on that shim so I know right where that's supposed to go. So now I know the base is level, and I'm still going to have some movement with the window even with those straps. So like I said, it's sitting level, centered roughly in the opening on the bottom. There's still going to be some lateral movement with the straps in. So when I fasten that, I'm pushed back into that 1.5 inch spacing, and that's going to hold the window in the opening. So now I know I'm parallel with that wall, which is also plumb. So that's all set. Temporary handle here to open up the window, be able to get the screws in it. And at this point, I'm going to take off a couple of these little brackets. So here with the window, I can check on these where the window sash connects to the frame. There's those little studs, and I can check for plumb and see that I need to move over. Because remember, like I said, these these brackets here give a little bit of lateral movement. And I can tell from this that I've got to go a little bit over to the left on the top. So I'm just going to use a air shim on the top, push that over till it gets plumb, and then stick the turbo screws in the side. Just push the top of the frame over. Till it's plumb. I'm going to do the bottom and make sure it's over to that 2x. And then when you first put the screw in, it puts a little bit of pressure against between the jamb and the frame. So wind it in a little bit, then back it out, and that relieves the pressure. And then the screw can just go into the threaded part without pushing or pulling the window. And the way these go in, they're threaded all the way, so they don't push or pull even when the head touches. We are plumb, and I know the sill is good. Now the window should operate smoothly, so it's not catching anything there, and it pulls right in. And the window's all set. All right, now on to installing the doors. So these shipping brackets that are slotted right in, that I beat off of the windows, I'm going to leave on the doors. And the reason why is because this door doesn't have much. It's only about 1/4 of an inch here. So if I put flooring up against it, the door obviously wouldn't open. So I need to shim the door up. So I'm just going to leave these on and then accommodate for that in the opening. So that's just the standard opening. You can see the foam is exposed here, and I'm going to cover that and still build it up with a slope and then tape it all in. So first, put down a piece of 1/2 inch Advantech flush with the outside, and that's going to cover up that foam and give a solid support. And this is ripped to 3 1/4, which is the width of that door, and that leaves me 5 1/2 for my taper, because the door is going to be pushed to the inside of the building, so that way it swings open, because if it was out here and it hinged, it would catch and only open 90 degrees. All right, so that gives me a full 1 inch built up there, plus the inch of that undersill shipping material. So the door is going to be 2 inches up, minus the 3/4 finished flooring that goes in. So there'll be 1 1/4 between the finished floor and the door swing, roughly, which will be plenty. If there's a carpet there or something, it won't push it out of the way. And then I'm going to take a piece of clapboard, just like the windows, and that's going to create a taper here for the subsill. All right, so then the door is going to sit here. It'll be 5 1/2 inches sunk into the wall, and then all of this subsill is tilted out so the water can go down and out. There will be another sill over this, but this is just kind of added protection for a drainage plane just in case water does get behind there. So when the 6-inch comes down, it's going to be a little bit of overlap. I'm going to obviously put this one on first. That just gives me a reference line to make sure it's straight. I'm running this even with the back of that 3¼ inch rip. I'm gonna cut these 12 inches long. This is 8 3/4, so it's about 4 inches sticking out of the front. So I got the tapered sill, a 1-inch step up for the door, stretch tape in the corners, and then I'll just do a standard zip tape up the edges all the way around, and that'll seal up the prep work for the door. The door is going to sit right on this 3¼ inch strip back here, and I'll get that installed later. Talk about the control layers and how they're done. So I showed previously how this was done. That's completely open underneath, so there's free-flowing water drainage right here. Air can get underneath here, obviously, but it's air sealed on the inside face of the window, and then the insulation on the side. So the face is taped. So if there's any water that gets behind the trim, it'll hit this, come down and out, run right down. And then this will be the rain screen in here, so it'll run right out. So this is kind of a secondary layer of bulk water control. And then I'm gonna peel this off and show the insulation behind. So you can see there's no insulation there, but if you look in, about half the window depth is spray foamed. And then when this gets taped over, there's a gap in there, so there's an air cavity. So that air cavity will act as a condensation point. So if there's any water vapor that gets in there, or God forbid a leak, which I don't know how it would, but let's say there was water, bulk water or vapor, it has a cavity to condense or go into, and then it comes down, hits that pan and out. So we've got bulk water, we've got vapor control, we've got air control on the inside, which I'll show you, and then we have the thermal control, which is that insulation in there. All right, so on the inside of the window, there's 2 different systems going on here. So one is the sill. Remember, there was no insulation in there. So what I did was put backer rod in, and then this is like a sealant air dam. It's Proseco's R-Guard air dam, but we're only using it for the air control. So that's all this does is seal up air. We want free-flowing condensation underneath the sill. And then you'll see I did use spray foam along the window edge. And you're gonna hear, well, spray foam isn't airtight, and you can prove that with these little tiny little cracks. There's little spots. And even if it's completely sealed now, it may not be in a year or two when there's temperature changes and things pull away. So this is acting as insulation, but it's not acting as any water, vapor, or air control. So remember, we have the tape on the outside, that's bulk water. We have the air gap, vapor control. This is thermal control, and then I'm gonna tape over it. So this is the same 3M tape sealed to the zip and to the window. So that's our air control layer on the inside face of these sides, and it'll go around the top. And that's a 3M's flashing tape 8067, but it's an acrylic adhesive and it is super, super sticky and tacky. It's the same adhesive that zip tape is, but it's a more flexible, and you can see, so zip panels have this little texture to them, and you can see how this conforms right to it and creates a really nice seal. They call this wetting in, where the adhesive goes into the substrate, and you can actually see that transfer through the texture there. So that's when you know you got a good seal here, and this is all pressed in. One other thing is these window clips that go in, that hold the window in prior to the turbo screws going through the jamb. They're always, and you can actually see, it's a teeny little bit of air, a little gap right there. You see the light coming through. Sneaky little air path through there. So just put an additional piece of tape over that bracket, and that'll help seal any potential air gap in there. So again, the inside face is just the air control layer, but the sides and top are insulated. And then we have, again, bulk water, vapor, air, and thermal control.